Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Tonic podcast. This is just a short, quick episode, one of our catch-up episodes that we do. I'm one of the co-hosts, Drew, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about the post office. It's something that doesn't exactly sound too exciting, but it's kind of important, and it's brought up in current topics because of this bailout $2 trillion relief bill. There's a lot of talk about, Trump said that he wouldn't sign it if there's any relief for the post office. Eventually, there was a loan given out to the post office in this bill for about $13 billion direct grant. But we'll just talk a little bit about why. Why was this even an issue? So first off, the post office is not profitable. Steadily, their revenue has been decreasing, and right now during the pandemic, they lose about $2 billion a month. And so the argument is made that this is not a profitable thing. In a recession, perhaps it's better to cut this. But I would argue against that. Again, I don't think the post office's point is to make money. I don't think it's supposed to be a net positive kind of thing. I think it's supposed to be an investment. I view it more of like an infrastructural investment, right? Something like a highway that you get, the benefits are more outward and around it instead of the actual unit itself. So let's talk about it. First off, the post office is something that's protected in the U.S. Constitution. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 7 of the United States Constitution is known as the Postal Clause. Gives the Congress the powers to establish post offices and post roads. Now, obviously, Constitution was written a couple hundred years ago, right? So we have to take into account, is this something that we still need to apply to ourselves today? I would still say yes. Now, of course, obviously, yes, there's plenty of private companies like FedEx and what's the other one? That was the brown one. I'm blanking. But, there are private companies that do delivery. Amazon does its own delivery now as well. But I still think that there's valuable things that the post office would do that is different than these private companies. So yes, maybe most of your parcels are coming from a private company, but things like vote by mail, especially now in this pandemic where perhaps, people are staying home from voting or the voting has been moved and people might be a little confused on when and where they're supposed to vote for their primary or the general. It's important that vote by mail is an option for Americans. Again, I've said this multiple times on our regular podcast. I have vote by mail in California. I know plenty of people that use it, and it's very good. People like it. Most people that I talk to that vote by mail prefer it. They can sit at home. They can do their research. They don't have to worry about trying to find their polling place. They can just get in the mail, fill it out, send it back. They don't really have to worry about it too much. And I think that's really valuable. And again, I'm always arguing for more political participation, wherever in the world, and especially in rural places, and in the Midwest or hard to reach areas, maybe in the mountainous areas. It is the post office and the Postal Service that is, bringing mail to people, bringing parcels, and they still do plenty of that. First class mail volume. I'm looking right here at Postal Facts. They still do 142 billion pieces of mail a year. Now, it has been declining the last 5 years by about, a billion or two a year, but they still do that. And their parcels have been increasing. Their shipping and package volume increases. In 2014, they did 4 billion packages. In 2019, they did 6.2 billion packages. So they're definitely still providing a service. They employ 496,000, right? These are their career employees. And that's been increasing since 2014, right? So you're talking about 500,000 jobs. And so to me, it's something that, there is an argument, okay, maybe it's not the most efficient, right? Maybe we need to look at the way it's set up or the way it's funded. They do get most of their funding through stamps, but it's not enough. That's why they kind of need this loan bailout during this coronavirus pandemic. And so, yes, sure, we can look at maybe adjusting how the post office is run, maybe modernizing it a bit. But Trump, before the bill, Trump had said, I'm not going to pass anything that has post office funding in it. Eventually, Congress did, right? Again, it's not the president that decides these bills; it's Congress, and then Trump just approves or vetoes it. And in an interview, one of his staffers said, I don't think he was ever going to actually use the V word veto, but he was definitely adamant about being against post office relief. It was eventually slipped in there, but even then, proponents of this addition to the coronavirus relief say that this $13 billion grant is only really going to last, maybe keep the post office afloat until September. So, it's definitely a Band-Aid on a wound and not a panacea, and it's not the penicillin. But I thought it was interesting that, something like the post office is coming up at such an interesting time. But I do think it's important. I think the main reason that we need to at least keep the post office up for now is the voting thing. It is the vote by mail. Because of the way our elections are getting so thrown around by this pandemic, it's important that every American citizen that's able to vote has the ability to, via mail or a polling station, safely. And if that means by mail because polling stations are unsafe due to the pandemic, then that we should fund that. We should support that. Regardless of party, people should be supporting all citizens that are able to vote to be able to vote. There's a theory that going around that this whole post office hate from Trump is a connection to his disdain from Jeff Bezos that was reported by the Rolling Stone. I'm not sure if I would go that far. Certainly Trump is no fan of Jeff Bezos. He's made that obviously clear, but I don't know if I see enough to have any connection to his beliefs on the post office. It's pretty generally a standard GOP understanding that they are not for the post office. They think it's kind of a wasted government spending. And again, I do understand that, if you're seeing a government program bleeding $2 billion a month that, maybe is not the most modern, I can understand the want to change it and look at it. But as far as completely eradicating it or not funding it or letting it go, that's, again, 500,000 jobs. For a lot of rural and mountainous areas, it's access, right? It's access to packages and to vote by mail. I do think it's important. But let me know what you think. Is something like the post office worth funding? Is perhaps maybe we adjust our constitution to not keep it so enshrined in our government? I think it's an interesting topic, and it's one that is probably not talked about too much. It's not exactly the most exciting topic, the post office. But it's something that I think does affect every American's lives and certainly affects the 500,000 people employed by it. Let me know your thoughts. This was a Tonic Accord catch-up, just a short little episode, but we will be back with our regular 30 to 45-minute full-length episodes soon. Thank you for listening, and hope you tune in next time.